Welcome to Tiny Hands Big Dreams here on the homestead in southern Ecuador. I'm going to show you the simple, most basic beginner maintenance that you need to know for a chainsaw. When I started out using a chainsaw, I moved into this house in the woods and they told me you have to own a chainsaw to live here. And I'm like, cool. So I went and bought a big chainsaw. I know how to use it. Now, this is not a video on how to use the chainsaw. That's a whole nother story. People figure it out though. But on maintenance, at least with me, I found that I really didn't understand it, so I just sort of used it till it stopped. Like with the chain, I would cut with the chain until the chain just made smoke and stopped cutting, and then I would go and get a new one. The guy asked me like something you want to like sharpen it, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Just give me another chain, and I replaced it. In 5 minutes, you can make your chainsaw run totally like new. It's really actually cheaper and easier than all the super involved videos that like. It's really that easy. So we're going to go with the super basic method. I'm going to show you what I can do here. This is my very well loved chainsaw. I have been cutting a ton of lumber. We use it for everything around here. It's just a little model. It's not the big gigantic thing. I really like the little one. They're lightweight. They're easier to use. It's less fatigue. You know, I cut gianty planks with it, huge trees. It's just great. Sharpening and chain tensioning are kind of the biggest things that you have to do. Now, we're gonna show you that. The only other things on here is there's a carburetor. Feed it good gas. If you're not going to use it for a long time, drain the gas out of it. Dump it out. Run it till it goes dead. You won't have any carburetor problems. There's an air filter. Differs by model. You can take this out and gently brush it off and knock off some sawdust, and that will get you several years. If it gets super gnarly, you're going to have to replace it. There's a spark plug. If for whatever reason it just isn't running right at all and it has reasonably good gas with two-stroke oil mixed correctly, just change the spark plug. Don't try to diagnose it. Don't take it to a shop. Have a spare spark plug. They're like $3. Change it. Magically, that fixes a lot of problems. So that's the engine side of it. Pretty basic, simple. Chain. The chain has opposite teeth, and if we look closely, we can see that we have a left cut and a right cut and a left and a right, and they go back and forth. Okay, this first edge is the only part that wears, so this is what we're concerned about, is sharpening this edge. And then the only other thing that we have to talk about is this little guy, but I'll get to that later. Now, here's a tool. This is, we'll take it out, a chainsaw file with a guide. Now, all this is a standard file. We call this a chainsaw file. They come in sizes particular to chains. You're going to have to figure out what size chain you have. This is like one of the smallest ones. Has a red marker. So I go to the store. They're like $2. You want a handle. I happen to have one. This is an angle guide. This one is from Steel, the manufacturer, but you know what? They're like $10 on Amazon. They're made by a lot of companies. They're just great. It is marked in a couple of places with angles. That's kind of the important part. Now, to sharpen the chainsaw, here's what we do. This is how it was just running. I just cut a whole pile of boards. It's a little dull, but otherwise, it's going great. I'm going to loosen my bar with the tool they gave you. Now mine has this adjustment here. So there's loose. What I'm going to do is just run the adjustment up until it's just snug. I just want it snug. That's all. I recommend a paper towel. Chainsaws can be, you know, it's sharp. Now on mine, I have one missing spot, which is the end of the chain. So I'm going to start here. And this is just to protect my hand. So I'm going to come in to the first tooth. Now, I lay this down and it fits. Clunk, it just fits in there. See this line? And if we get a top-down view, you can see that that line just lines up with the bar. You don't want that. You don't want that. You just want it straight across. The only other thing you have to worry about is that your tilt, it's supposed to be pretty much flat across the bar. If the chain starts to wear funny, small adjustments can be made this way or that way if you read the tooth and get into it. But right now, if you just sharpen it straight, you're going to do yourself a lot of favors. So this round fits right into that tooth. Now, with not a ton of pressure, but I am going to push this way. So I'm pushing into the tooth. I'm just going to set up my finger there. Oh. You put something under your blade, it doesn't damage your table. And then I go 1, 2, 3, and that's just gentle pressure. Now, sometimes you can see that the tooth now fits. There's like no gap there. And sometimes you'll see it where you put it up against it, and you can see that it's rounded over. Okay, not quite good. We're going to do one more. So we'll say that's 5. That's beautiful. I can now see that that perfectly touches that at that angle. 5 strokes. Move it, go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to do them all the same. This is important to it continuing to cut straight and even. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's really all there is to it. Now, I'm going to go through all the ones on this side. You do want to make sure that your pressure is equal and you're using the whole file. You paid for the whole file. Use the whole file. Don't, no. Start, finish. I found out that I was starting to have a chainsaw that favored one way because on this side, I would do a nice full cut. And when I came around to the other side, come back up to my center here. When I came to this side, I had my hand here. Well, guess what? I did this, and my hand got close, so I stopped short. So I was getting like 5 inches on one side and 6 inches on the other, and I was actually cutting my teeth to be slightly different. Okay, so I line up the other little mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I come in, I look at it. That's usually good right there. I felt like I flubbed some of it. I can give it a little bit extra. I'm a little weaker on this side for whatever reason. Sometimes I give it just a touch more to make sure it's even. I come back here and I do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I do one whole side of the chain, and then I do the other side of the chain. Miraculously, just doing that, which will take you 5 minutes, will turn this back into, oh my gosh, the chainsaw runs like new, wood just flies everywhere, chips go, it like, man, it's great. Last note. There's a little piece here on chains. You see this little thing? Now this sits just below this tooth. What it does is this just glides across the wood just below the cutting edge, and it's 25 thousandths officially. So what happens is this rides on the wood, this cuts the wood. So it says that it gets to cut 25 thousandths shavings. If you notice, these teeth have an angle to them. They're not straight. They kick back. So as you sharpen this tooth, this cutting point gets lower. So after like 5 or 10 sharpenings even, you're going to find that it's still cutting, but you're making really fine shavings. You have to come in with a file and either hand file these. I use an angle grinder, but at peril, you just kiss them ching, 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 with the angle grinder. Very, very gentle. But you've got to take this down like 10 thousandths of an inch, just a little bit. And then you've corrected the gap between these two. But if you don't even want to deal with that, if you just want to sharpen it and call it a day, you will get most of the life out of this chain. It will cut nice and easy and proper. You're not fighting it, you're not pushing on it. You just set the saw down and it will go through a piece. It's actually, it's far more enjoyable to use the chainsaw when it literally just cuts. And as soon as you start trying to push the chainsaw and you're fighting it and it's burning, or it's starting to cut sideways and it'll start to jam because it's not cutting a straight line, that's unsafe. That's dangerous. Very important is setting the tension on the chain here. If you get it too tight, so I just finished sharpening it, I ran through all the teeth. Very sharp. If you get it too tight, it drags. That's really bad. I always like to grab it with this. If you get it too loose, like that, that's really bad. This can slip off. If you ever had a bicycle chain come off a bicycle, you understand what happens here. This is really bad. So we're not gonna do that either. Now, there's only a couple things to think about. The bar has a little bit of play. As you can see, it has more slack here than it does here. So how the bar sits is actually sort of an important thing. So we're going to pull it up, and I'm going to give it a little tension. Now the teeth can still sort of come out, and it's, watch this, very small adjustment. Ding. Like really small. And then you snug these down. I always use the tool and I check it. Okay. So I can pull it away, but it's under tension there. And there's just, at the bottom here, the tiniest gap. Now, this is probably on the loose side of what's acceptable. You either want it this or just a hair tighter. I know that I do a lot of long continuous cuts. It gets very hot, and I actually get a little bit more tension as it heats up, so I don't want it to bind. So I'm going to set mine to the loose side of the spec. If you're just doing like yard cleanup, something like that, I would say maybe just, ready? Ding! Like it's very small. Okay, let me check it again. You see how that's snugger? That's it. Moves freely, but is on the snug side. That's kind of a normal setting. If you get this wrong, you could have either a dangerous situation or bad wear or something. Now, if you have to loosen it, you get it too tight, loosen it a lot. Okay? Pull up. When you pull up, it forces the bar back in. There you go. There's all my looseness. I'll just try it again. Put this back in the little slot. Come up. And I do a hair more. I'm going to try that. Moves freely. There's just a little bit of play there. Perfect. Super important. Bar oil. In this chainsaw, it goes here. And don't forget this. Gas goes over here, says gas, with oil. Almost every chainsaw I know of is two-stroke. You must put two-stroke oil with the gas. Replace it every year. If you don't use it, give it away to somebody, dispose of it, put fresh gas in every year. Bar oil. This is actually recycled motor oil. I get it from the local truck depot, which you're not supposed to do. It's against the instructions, yada, yada, yada. If you filter it and it's fresh, good grade, and I know where this came from and what it is, it's actually still good. So, but you're supposed to get, in the United States, you can get bar oil. Bar oil is not available here. That's part of it. That oil, there's a tiny little mechanism inside here. There's a tank. And that drips oil onto this chain to provide it lubrication. Otherwise, you'd have steel on steel contact and it would seize. In the States, just buy bar oil. You can get it by the gallon. It's pretty inexpensive. It'll last a very long time. That is the bulk of the maintenance a chainsaw needs. Feed it good gas with a little bit of oil. Put good bar oil in for the thing, and sharpen the teeth occasionally. My gosh, you've covered 90% of it right there. You didn't need to get all these crazy specific things, and people get super overly picky about all that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of official, like, people who use chainsaws all day long and have done this for 40 years who are going to tell me I'm somewhat wrong and I didn't do this exactly right. I'm like, yeah, that's the advanced level. For the beginner level, this will do you. Let me show you some of what I've been doing with this little chainsaw. I built a custom little lumber cutting jig for almost nothing. I cut a bunch of beautiful straight boards out of trees that were basically trash on our property. Let me show you some of that.